Well, welcome to BeachLife UnLocked. Mike Dotson, my colleague, Mitchell David. Today we're kind of just going to have a conversation about buyer agency agreement and kind of what our thoughts are. We kind of did a video before on the actual content.
Right.
This time, overview, what the important parts were. I think this time we're just going to kind of go back and forth and kind of give you a real life examples and really tell you how we feel about it.
So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's tough. It changes all the time.
Right.
I think this is a...
Are you still feeling people out?
Yeah, I mean, again, to be bluntly and to be honest about this, I don't think when we have to introduce it is in the consumer's best interest. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's important for the consumer to have an exclusive agent. I think it's important for them to know what the commissions are, how they get out of a contract. I think that's all important. But again, from our experience, people just want to see property, right? We've never met these people before. They may not like us. We might not like them. It might not be a match.
And I think you said something important previously. This is a second home market, right, in Ocean City. So people are coming here, it's disposable income. This is not a primary residence. They're not moving for a job for the most part. They're coming here to find a place to vacation, for their family to just relax, right? And so, meeting them for the first time, saying, welcome from New Jersey, welcome to Ocean City, Maryland. Here's a paper, you're going to pay me, right? I'm going to show you this property. We know you have money because you wouldn't be buying a second home if you didn't. Right. So, but when you walk in, where you meet somebody for the first time, are you doing this in the parking lot? Are you talking to them before you enter into the unit?
Yes. So initially, when we first started, it was a parking lot conversation, right? Yeah. Because we're all kind of worried on what the rules and regulations and how the crackdown is going to be. But it was so impersonal when you did it that way. You weren't even able to greet them, right? Because
welcome, sign here.
Yeah, welcome, sign here. And if you don't like it, I'm not going to show you the property. So get lost. Yeah. And so it has evolved over time. I think you and I both agree through education and having these conversations, our goal is that we're going to have our clients sign these remotely before they even get to us. Yeah. I think that's the most important part, is for them to actually have a clearer picture, because people still don't know about it, right?
Right.
I mean,
it's so new.
It's so new, yeah. And not all agents are doing it, right, wrong, or indifferent. So sometimes we're meeting people who are like, no, I saw a property and didn't sign this. And so what it looks like for me is this: I do fill them out. It's already filled out. I put a copy. We obviously make binders for all our clients. Right. And so I already have my self-signed copy in the binder. And then once we get into the property, I do my introduction. I do discuss it. I'm like, hey, listen, under law, I need to have this conversation. Now, and the one thing we always have to remember too is, do they have to sign it?
No, I mean, you can't force somebody to sign anything,
correct,
right? And so at that point, I think you have to educate them. Okay, well, that means some things. That means I don't work for you. That means that I'm working for the brokerage that has listed this property and their seller, right? And I'm operating in their best interest. You don't have somebody on your side at that point, right? You're kind of, out in the middle of the ocean by yourself with no help, right?
Well, here's the awkward part. So now, instead of them looking at the property, you're spending the first 15, 20, 30 minutes now going
explaining how all this works.
Exactly. And then trying to sell ourselves.
And at that point, you're pushing them away.
Correct. Agreed.
They're not going to want to work with you.
Agreed.
Right? If they don't understand what they're signing. I've had it. I had a woman recently that, I went through the whole thing from the jump. She was like, yeah, whatever you need me to do. And then when I started going through the agreement, she's like, oh, I'm not going to sign that. Well, okay. Well, we're going to need to leave.
That changes,
now, right? I mean, we need to leave this property, or you need to understand that I don't work for you, right? I can't help you.
Correct.
I can't answer your questions about anything in particular with this property and why they're selling, right? Whether I know that or not, I can't share that with you.
Right. I think that's probably the most disappointing thing for me, is that our job is to serve the consumer.
Right.
Correct. I understand there's legalese, and I understand that there's other agents, I guess obviously since the lawsuits, that aren't looking out for the best of their customer / client. And I think that's what disappoints me, is that now instead of getting to know them, getting to know what their wants and needs are, again, because of how our
Building
market
that
works.
trust.
Building the trust. Look, I say it all the time. Real estate isn't selling property, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it looks like when we, dot the I's and cross the T's. But what we're really doing is we're selling a trust factor that they're willing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with our professional advice, opinion, ultimately their final decision on all of that. But again, you're correct. I think you lose some of that in this now.
Yeah, absolutely. From the jump, you're not able to build that trust like you used to, right? You talk to somebody on the phone, we meet them in person, we find out, really, really, truly what they're looking for. You get to know the person. Now it's like, welcome, sign here, and it just takes the ability to actually build that relationship with a client or with a customer. Takes it out of it.
Right, and for all the real estate nerds out there, listen, we're well aware of, Maryland having the exclusive buyer agency agreement many years ago, and our presentation of that, which we've all done for years. The difference is that they erased the cooperating commission off of the MLS.
Right. So we don't even know if that's being paid or how it's being paid, if it's even an option, right, for the buyer from the jump. So we're kind of going in blind.
Correct. So again, for me, not consumer friendly. The buyer now doesn't know. Sure, we can reach out to each listing agent and ask the question, but then again, we're leading that conversation with that buyer off. Hey, by the way, this one's offering 2.5%. This one's offering 2%, and we have to. And again,
or this one's offering
none, right? Because remember, commissions are always negotiable, always have been negotiable. The exclusive agency agreement that had a commission that the buyer would pay us was negotiable.
Right.
That's never changed. And even in the listing agreement, right? It said, what is the total percentage and what are you willing to have as a co-op? Right. And so those numbers have always been negotiable. Have they been explained properly? That I don't know. Is there a written rule on what those commissions are? No. There's brokerages out there that charge a flat fee of X just to get it into the MLS. And obviously Mike and I can't discuss commissions because it's an antitrust, so we can't say that you should charge this or you should have this getting paid to you. Again, it's negotiable. So obviously, let's fast forward. We get in there, we have the conversation, and they've signed, right? What's kind of the next portion of that? How do you gain back that trust?
Well, I think you've got to start back at square one, right? You start back like we did previously. You have that conversation. What do you think about this place? What are you really looking for? What features? What's important to you? Oceanfront, bayfront, ocean block. Whatever it is, and then we go from there, right? We kind of put the exclusive agency agreement to the side,
Agreed.
right? And we proceed. Now I'm working for you as the buyer. Now we can proceed with me. Keeping any information you share with me confidential from a seller, and we find you a place that fits.
Right.
And then at that point, then we decide, okay, how do we address the commission? Right. What does it look like? Are they offering a co-op, commission, or are we going to have to negotiate that into the offer? What does that look like in the end? What's the full picture? Once it comes into focus, once we find that place, the right place for you, it all starts coming into focus. But I think, from what we were doing previously is you build that relationship, you build that trust after you have that agency agreement signed, which makes it difficult. Right.
Well, I think to Mike's point as well. So, in the exclusive agency agreement, there's two paragraphs or subparagraphs, 8A and 8B, that kind of discuss compensation on what we're requesting from a buyer. And then obviously 8B pretty much says, hey, you can actually get a cooperation from either the listing brokerage or the seller that will then offset whatever your number is.
Or entirely cover that.
Or entirely cover it.
Right. Remember, in Maryland, we can negotiate that number down. So let's say we start high and you've agreed to X amount. But the seller is only offering, a different percentage. We can turn around and say we'll accept that as full compensation, right? And then the buyer's off the hook.
Negotiable,
right? Now the buyer's off the hook for any additional funds outside of the purchase price.
Right. So there is a mechanism in the exclusive agency agreement.
You're not tied to that number, even when you sign.
Correct.
Right. That number is negotiable.
Right. Any good agent who's looking out for the best interest of their client, right? And now look, we do know agents who have a set number that they stick by.
Will not go below that.
Well, and that's great, right? But again, that goes back to our point is that's always been the case. Right? That's not changed, right? And that's what's confusing, or I guess upsetting for me, is that there's different types of agents out there who've either accepted what the co-broke was, didn't accept it what it was, and asked for more.
Right.
And then the buyer and the sellers get to make those choices whether or not they want to do it, right? And so
at that point, are you ruining deals for your clients?
good point.
Right. If the seller's not willing to come up, or the buyer's not willing to go down, the buyer's not willing to come up, or the seller's not willing to go down, vice versa, are we ruining deals at that point?
Yeah,
I haven't had that.
No, I'm not. I mean, I guess theoretically, right, it could.
Yeah.
Right, if you weren't willing to.
Is that really in the best interest of the seller or the buyer?
Well, I just did it right on the property down on the boardwalk, right?
Right.
They were below what I would normally accept as a commission, but it was a multiple offer situation. It was the best interest of my buyer, and my buyer was obviously a repeat customer many times, and I wanted to make sure that they got the property. So again, it was negotiable. We had the conversation, but we did it before.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's the hard part for like Mike and I to grasp our head around is, you're asking for something that we've already done now to be presented in a way that sets people off, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's
sour the relationship.
Right. And so, so I guess not the funny question, I think the serious question though is it important for a buyer to have the agreement, or is it important for the brokerage to have the agreement?
Absolutely. I think it protects both parties.
I agree.
Right. It protects us. Right. If we're taking time out of our day away from our families to be out showing property, you're looking for somebody to be on your side, right? So we're protected because now, you've agreed to work with us. We're protecting your information, and we have your best interest at heart. So that's what the buyer gains. And so I think it's crucial for both parties. I don't know if you want to tell people, vet your agent. We have no problem having that conversation with people to prove that we are the best option, right? Because we do have the best interest of our clients at heart. We want to get you the best deal. We want to make sure you're protected.
We want you to come back.
We want you to come back. Right? When you decide to sell, we want you to call us, and we want to sell your property too.
And refer.
Yeah, and send your friends.
Right. I think both of our goal in this is to have videos or have conversations that are free flowing, so buyers can see that.
Yeah.
So then when we pick up the phone, they already are aware of what's going on.
Right.
Because again, as we said earlier, some just don't have a clue.
It's all about educating.
It is, and obviously we're licensed in Delaware as well, and Delaware has a different ruling or a different law regarding dual agency.
Oh, different world.
Right. We're not even going to go into that because it completely confuses stuff. But in Maryland, it's one agent, right? One client.
Right.
It's just that simple. And can there be an unrepresented person in that transaction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So when you're unrepresented, though, remember you're not getting any additional help. And
You're
so
on your own.
What are the pitfalls there?
Well, so the agent is working with the seller, right, or the buyer, right? They're working in the best interest of their clients. They're getting the best deal, right? If you, as a consumer, a seller, or a buyer, don't know what to look for, then you're kind of stranded, right? You're gonna get taken,
Right.
Because the agent's doing their job, and if the agent's doing their job, they're getting the best deal for their client,
Correct.
regardless of what side of the deal they're on.
Yeah, I think we need to reiterate that. The other agent who represents the other party is getting the best terms and conditions for their client, right? And I think that gets lost because have you gotten phone calls where a buyer says, I only want to deal with the listing agent?
Yeah.
What's your response to that?
Good luck. I mean, honestly, that's the reality of it. Is if that's your really your mindset is I don't want to work with an agent. Okay, well, you better hopefully you know what you're doing,
Right.
Right, and if you don't have experience in real estate, there are things that you may not know to look out for. Here in Ocean City, a condo doc review. Do people know what that means?
Yep.
Right, as a buyer, right? You need to know that condominium, that building is in good shape, and if you have questions, you're kind of on your own. You don't have anyone you can reach out to, other than the association themselves, and they're going to give you whatever's going to protect them. They'll give you the information, but it's up to you to decipher that.
Well, but again, you now are doing the work, right? And so I think Mike nailed that thing. I mean, there are
We do this every day. This is what we do,
every day,
right?
Every day.
We know what to look for.
We talk about it every day. We have conversations, right? I mean,
This is all we do. We don't have other jobs.
No, this is all we do. And I think, are there buyers out there that don't need an agent?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
There are people that can navigate a deal on their own, but they're few and far between ones that know. And every market's different, right? Our market in Ocean City at the beach is totally different than Prince George's County or Montgomery County, or buying elsewhere in Maryland, where it's not a second home market. Right. We're here. We're dealing with people that have disposable income. For the most part, that are looking to relax. They really don't know what else might pop up in a deal or through a process that they should be looking for.
Right, like an HO6 policy,
right?
Fixture fee, right? Conservation easements.
What's covered in your condo fee?
Yeah, what's covered? The basic. What's covered in your condo fee?
It's just simple. It's like, what are you going to be responsible for when you get into that condo? Are there going to be surprises, right?
Yep.
Like you said, the fixture bill. Is your Wi-Fi, your cable covered?
Is your deed part of the association? I'm sorry, is your slip deeded?
Right.
Or is it part of the association?
Exclusive use?
Right.
Right.
I mean,
first come, first serve?
Yeah, total, right. A whole bunch of nuances.
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot to take in. That people don't think about, because they're like, oh, okay, I'm buying this condo. There's a boat slip. That's mine. Well, it may not be yours.
Right.
It might belong to you. It may not.
Well, and even to get more hyper local, which again, we live this, we breathe it. Mike lives in town. This is what we do all the time. I mean, when you're looking at comps, is like the Golden Sand comparable to a flying cloud, right?
Two different worlds.
Two different worlds, right? Two different numbers. So price per square foot might give you an idea, but is that what we really rely on?
No. You got to know the building. You got to know what they offer, what amenities are available, what kind of financial condition the building's in.
True.
Right. That's something, especially with these new law in Maryland with the reserve studies, that people number one, don't know about.
Sure.
Number two, if they do know about it, they don't know what it really means. Right? Is the building structurally sound? Are there going to be upcoming special assessments? There's a lot that an agent provides to a buyer, especially. I think it's crucial to everyone that you have somebody on your side, right?
And I was talking to a past client who's coming down this weekend. They're back in the market to buy again. And Mike and I have discussed this numerous times as well. And I think it's overlooked. Most people will keep their property for anywhere from 3 to 7 years. Then they're going to be trying to either exchange it out. Life's changed. God forbid something's happened in their family. But you have to have an exit plan.
Yeah.
Right. So while you might think the market from not being here, the question is, not all buildings sell the same, right? Not all floors sell the same if there's not an elevator in it, right? So again, being hyper local, kind of what we do, kind of offering that important part of it, exclusive buyer agency agreement. What I'll agree with you, it protects the buyer, right? And it does protect the brokerage. Let's be honest about it, right? So we don't want people shopping. And again, I always laugh. Mike and I chose this profession. We weren't forced into it, and we understood how we get paid and how the commissions work. But again, we have families, and we don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste our time. So again, it is a protection, a 360 protection for all parties involved, for sure.
There for us to work in your best interest, get you the best deal, and and have you tell your friends
Right.
about us, right? We want you to come back.
Yeah, or like I got an email late last night from a client who I sold to over a year ago asking for recommendations on flooring people. We're that real estate expert, right? We have those connections in the community. We understand the importance, and we were trying to let you know what the value for you is.
Yeah.
Now, like Mike said, I think he made it, vet your agent. How would you go about doing that?
Well, you need to know what they offer, right? Is your agent going to be available when you call them, right? Will they get back to you quickly? If a property comes up, you're not in town, or will the agent go and look at the property for you, tell you their thoughts, right? And if you have that relationship with them, they know what you're looking for. You know what you want, and so if someone like us, you call us and say, hey, I can't get to town today. This one just popped up. Can you please go look at it? Let me know if it's going to fit what we're looking for. Well, we have that relationship. We know what you're looking for. We know if it's going to fit, right?
Heck, we can do Zoom calls.
Right. We can do a live video.
Right, live video.
Go through it with you.
Yep.
Because we are dealing with it's a second home market, so people aren't here year round. But having that relationship with your agent and having that exclusive agency, because you call me, we don't have exclusive agency. Well, I'm not working for you. I'll go look at it and see if I can get the best deal for the seller.
Or I'm going to go look at it for a client who actually has signed with me. Right. And so the other thing is, you talked about it, like having those qualities. Would you recommend a potential client to go someplace to find, where they could locate your information? Like, and when a buyer's doing a due diligence.
Yeah, check them out, read the reviews. Go online, go to Google, go to Zillow.com, read the reviews. What other people who have experienced that person, gone through a process, what does that look like? How did they come out in the end? Did they feel like it was a good, right? Did they get the deal that they wanted? Are they happy?
Were you prompt? Were you present?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Did you get back to them in a timely fashion?
Yeah.
This is what we do all day. So you call me, you call Mitch, we're going to get back to you.
Yeah, I think the other part
you may not like what you hear.
and that is true. I mean, we're
going to be honest.
I would rather ruin a deal than a deal go through. I say it all the time. You can, and people, and I think to Mike's point, we're happy to give you references to make phone calls. An agent shouldn't be afraid for a current, customer or / becoming a client to actually call some past clients.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
We would rather ruin a deal than for you to settle and then be unhappy. Because again,
I'm dealing with it now. I mean, I had a woman call me recently. They bought a property 2 years ago. It's not exactly what they wanted. They felt kind of pressured into it.
You pressured them into it?
I did not sell it to them, which is why they reached out to me, because I didn't have a relationship with them, but I had spoken to them, and they decided to go with another agent. And at that time, they thought it was the right choice. Now they've come to me, and they're not happy with what. Their family dynamic has changed, and so they thought their grandkids would come visit more often. They're not here, and so they've decided they're going to sell, and we're looking for now oceanfront properties, right? And so when the time comes, we find the right property, I'm going to sell their property. I'm going to help them buy, right? Because we had that conversation previously. They admittedly made the wrong choice.
I hate to interrupt you, but from the conversation that you had, what did you gain?
What did I gain?
Yeah, what did you gain? What did they gain? Why are they coming with you?
Well, when they called me initially, they weren't able to get a hold of their agent at the time. So they did have an exclusive agency agreement at the time with another agent. They wanted to get into a property that day, and they weren't able to get a hold of their agent. So they called me, just out of the blue. They had been on my website, we've had some back and forth emails. They called, and I said, absolutely, let's get you in today. At the time, I didn't know they had an agent. I found out later.
But you never showed them the property.
I never showed them the property.
Right. Because you found out, right.
They called me that day and said, our agent finally got back to us after 9 phone calls. Right. And they're going to show us the property. They ended up buying. They weren't happy with the process, right? So they're not returning to that agent, right? I think what we're saying is when we help you buy or we help you sell, we want you to come back to us.
Well, yeah, I think more importantly, I think even to Mike's point, I think he's even glossing over because he doesn't see it. They trusted him, right? I think this goes back to our first thing is, in real estate, like a marriage, because honestly, showing properties is like dating, right?
With a exclusive agency agreement,
we're married. We're married.
Yeah.
And so without that trust, and he gained the trust from them from a conversation that he had and from his willingness to help them out. Now, granted, obviously, they were working with another agent, and I would ask that all buyers respect that. I think that's important.
If you're reaching out to other agents, you're doing a service, number one, to that agent.
Correct.
And to the agent you reached out to.
And it's fine, right? It's fine if you want to change agents, right?
Right, you just have to have that termination clause,
Yep.
and whatever that says, and you have to go through that process.
Just let the new agent know.
Right.
Let us know, because there is a certain way to navigate
we're eager
that.
to help.
Yes,
right? So
but there is some legalese in there that we have to make sure that we
protect
follow.
ourselves.
Yeah, we do need to protect ourselves.
You need to protect yourself
Yep.
as well.
Or you're going to be paying double commission,
we
potentially.
don't want that.
Potentially, again. So that's pretty cool. So have somebody you weren't working with decided that over the years they reached out to you. How did they know that you were still in the business? Were you sending them stuff? How do you?
Every day I'm sending them listings, keeping them updated on the market.
So another good sign of an agent, right?
Yeah.
You have a website. You set people up.
Yep. Keep them. Informed, because things are changing, right?
Yep.
Obviously, the economy is not as great as we'd like, and so people keeping an eye on, how the market's changing.
Interest rate, yep.
Interest rates, the whole 9 yards. I think it's education. That's what we do. We educate people. We keep them informed. And even if you don't use us, we still want to give you that information so that
absolutely.
you as a consumer are knowledgeable when the time comes. And we do want you to come to us, right? Come back to us.
Yeah. Or come to us for the first time, right?
Yeah, and don't make the mistake of using someone else the first time.
Right, there's only so much we could talk about the exclusive agency agreement for buyers. What I will kind of segue a little bit to is the exclusive listing agreement, because I think they go in tandem a little bit.
Yep.
And I think what people need to understand is, even agents who might be watching this as well, especially in Maryland, and I had this conversation with an agent the other day who didn't want to share the information. When you have an exclusive agency agreement, in there it specifies how much the seller is going to pay the brokerage, correct?
Right.
And in there's another paragraph that expressly tells how much they're allowing you to offer for a co-broke,
Right,
correct? It could be zero, it could be any other number besides that. But whatever that co-broke number is, while it can no longer be disclosed on the MLS, it does need to be disclosed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a form for that in Bright?
Absolutely, yeah. The listing agent should be filling out multiple forms. Number one, the listing brokerage agreement, and also the offer of brokerage compensation, right? That they can share with an agent, an interested agent who has a client who's interested in making an offer. They have to know, because all that goes into the offer when you present it, right?
Correct. Yep.
Am I accepting your initial offer? What's that look like? Is my buyer paying now? Is there?
Right.
Because we're gonna have to have that conversation. What does this look like? We make this offer and then not offering anything. Well, we don't work for free, right? Like you said, we do have families, and so we need to structure that offer to either ask the seller to pay, ask the agent to come up off of some of their commission, right? Share a little bit.
Negotiable.
It's all negotiable.
Right. We just had this conversation. So this is how it kind of looks like. So if we got under contract, we would request them to share whatever it is that they're offering as a broker, correct? We would get that up front because we have an addendum for that. Well, let's assume it's less than what we are willing to accept, which again, Mike and I are always negotiable on that, so probably not going to happen. Could, most likely won't, but in this other addendum, you put what the brokerage compensation is, and then the other line is what?
Requesting the seller to fill that gap.
Yep.
Or the buyer, you have that conversation up front with the buyer, right? With the exclusive agency agreement, the buyer could fill in that gap as well.
Correct.
Right? And that's, like Mitch said, that's negotiable. And so we have that conversation prior to making the offer. So everybody, it's transparency. Everybody knows who's paying who and what that looks like when we get to the end.
Right, because while we may present X, we may get Y back. Right. And so that conversation, that counter offer, depending on what the situation looks like, a property on the market for 150 days is going to look different than a property just on the market, right? With our negotiation power. Again, seasoned agents are going to understand that. And again, to get us through the finish line, ultimately, there could be some negotiations going on.
The whole thing's negotiation from the jump. I mean, you're negotiating all the way to the settlement table.
Yeah, you are. You truly are. We've covered a lot here on this. I don't know. Again, we kind of want to bring the listing. We're not going to get into detail, but we wanted to kind of let you know, especially since you're a buyer, that that number, if it is being offered as a co-broke, we have that information and we should be given it to by the listing agent, so we can share
and knowing
that.
Where that comes from. I mean, that's
exactly.
Negotiation that the listing agent has with their seller up front, and so we should be notified.
Correct, exactly.
We don't have a method of learning that until we ask.
Correct.
So if you're interested in something, we're going to ask. We're going to find out what that looks like, so we can put the best possible deal together for you.
Now, do we have to show properties that are offering zero commission?
Yeah, I mean, if the buyer wants to see it, it's up to the buyer.
Correct.
Right. If the buyer decides that they don't want to see those properties, we don't show them those properties. Right.
But we don't make that decision for them.
Yeah, that's up to the buyer.
Right. That's up to the buyer.
Right. That's all part of the negotiation.
Right. Well, and again, I think again for education for the buyer, you have to understand that you might not be in this situation where you're able to pay a compensation, right?
Yeah.
And so the only way
to know what you can afford, what that looks like. Is there compensation being offered on the other side? Those are the properties that you're going to want to look at.
Right, and again, it's up to you as the buyer to make that decision. You might say to us, hey, listen, if they're not offering a co-op, I don't care if it's a perfect property. I don't want to get into that negotiation. What Mike and I would say to you is, you have nothing to lose in that situation. Yeah. You're better off.
If it is the perfect property, let's make an offer.
Let's make an offer.
We can make this work for you.
Let's see if we can make it work. Let's see if we can get the seller to offer it. Maybe the brokerage compensation, maybe they'll come off something potentially, right?
Yeah.
To get the deal done.
Make this work for everyone. That's really the ultimate goal.
Right. So what I would say is, and I'm with Mike, again, our job is to find that property for you. And so if it is the perfect property, but it may not fit the compensation rule that you're looking for or the amount, you still need to go for it.
Yeah.
You still need to make the attempt.
Worst thing they can say is no.
No.
And then you already put yourself in a position where you're like, okay, I'm okay if I don't get this.
Right.
Right. And so, but if you do get it, then you're that much happier.
That's correct. Agreed. So, we've covered a lot on this. You have any final remarks that you would like to add?
Just find the agent that's going to work for you. I mean, honestly, it's what it comes down to.
And it may not be us, right?
But it probably will be.
I mean, more.
We are the best.
Well, and we are. And again, but the key for us though is honestly, and we jest back and forth all the time, is we want you to make sure that you fulfill what you want here at the beach, because like Mike said, it is discretionary funds. So this is something that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time, right?
Yeah, I'm going through it now with a client. She's dreamed her whole life of having a place at the beach. Comes here every summer, multiple times a year.
That's awesome.
And we're on the cusp. We're on the doorstep of getting her a place that's going to work for her. So,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we appreciate your time, and please come watch us on our other videos that we'll be providing to y'all.
Any questions or want to discuss the process? Give us a call. Feel free to drop us a line.
Yep. Put it in the message box underneath on the chat, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
Check out BeachLifeOceanCity.com.
Thank you.